Okay, say something.
Hello. Adventure.
Love.
Connection.
Risk.
Passion.
Evolution.
Play.
Life. The Archetypal Tarot Podcast. Provocative mythology for the 21st century.
Hello, Julian here. Cyndera and I would like to invite you to join our team and become a patron of the Archetypal Tarot Podcast. And it's super easy to sign up. Just go to tiny.cc/tarot and check out all the fun rewards that we've got to show our appreciation for you. And so, like for less than the price of a cup of coffee, you're going to be getting more great podcasts, interviews with teachers, writers, artists, and for the first time ever, exclusive podcasts just for our patron team. And the first 15 people to sign up will automatically receive the rewards for the next level up. So check it out, tiny.cc/tarot. And here's our latest episode where Cyndera and I talk about the archetypes in the movie Wonder Woman. Enjoy. Hey, Cyndera. Yay. Aloha. How are you?
I'm doing great, Julian. How are you? Aloha.
Aloha. I am good. It's good to hear your voice. It seems like it's been forever. And I know we're both super excited to talk about what is kind of my new favorite film and might be yours, Wonder Woman. Archetypally
I think
rich.
Wonder Woman has brought us together for sure.
Oh my gosh. God, where do I start? Do you know what I did today? I looked. I try not to read reviews before I go to a film, just because I don't want anybody else's whatever to influence me. I just want to go fresh and see it. And I think I saw it maybe the second weekend after it opened. And so I saw it, loved it, saw it with a big group of friends, and was just today ahead of our call here looking through reviews, thinking I would find all these amazing reviews by women. And I struggled. I went through 9 pages of Google search results and was not finding kind of what I expected to see. So I was like, I just found a lot of schmucky guys saying really stupid things. So I'm sure there's good reviews out there, but it was an interesting perspective to sort of prepare for this call. Just a interesting reaction by men of all ages about the film. Some positive, some negative. I think they're befuddled by it, honestly.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I haven't read any reviews myself, but I was very excited to get a gift for actually a long time ago for Christmas present. I got to go pretty much opening weekend and see it in XD. It was total treat. I cried so much during the film the first time I saw it, and then I saw it a second time in 3D with a bunch of 5th graders, middle school girls. Aww. And which was really, really powerful to take 9 girls to go see the Wonder Woman movie, and they were so stoked and so into it. And I absolutely cried the second time I watched it as well. So I'm so excited to kind of break down this film and to talk about Wonder Woman with a friend that I feel is a Wonder Woman.
Aww.
And
you're the Wonder Woman. I've seen you in the outfit. It's amazing.
I had a Wonder Woman 4th of July. Absolutely. It was found the Miss Liberty firework. I had a lot of fun. I wrote a speech. It was just very deeply moved by the whole history and the recent reemergence of Wonder Woman in our culture right now. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. I think it's incredibly important and something that we've talked about in the past on the podcast, and something that I've certainly observed is I would honestly say I think our country, the United States, is in crisis. We're getting used to being in crisis, but everything that's happening really is kind of crisis mode. If just but for the divisions that are happening now. But when you observe the art and media that's created, and I'm not talking news media, I'm talking about entertainment like film, music, gallery art, things like that. It is, to me, a sign of what is bubbling up You know, it doesn't matter that maybe Wonder Woman was made a year or so ago. It's, I think, synchronistic that it's coming out now, and that when we look forward through the summer movie, granted, summer movie schedules tend to be filled with big blockbusters, but this year has a really large amount of superhero movies. And that
Hmm.
to me makes sense because there's a lot of, oh my God, someone come save us because this is messed
Yeah.
up. Um,
Absolutely. I
and
was reflecting on that too. It's
right?
when the situation is so dire and the systems that we've put in place don't seem to be able to fix any of the problems or the personalities that are reigning at the moment, it's almost as if our collective imagination needs to invent a character that has these superpowers that can face up to these people and these forces in an astounding way. So that is really an interesting phenomenon.
It is, and I think the danger for me that I see is that the general populace, people who, I mean, I love a superhero movie as much as the next person, always have. I mean, I'm not a classic comic book geek, but I really do enjoy the big, you know, the X-Men's, you know, all the big superhero movies. I really enjoy them, but there's something that I think happens is we get a sense of like a relief from watching it, like there'll be a hero to save us, but archetypally and symbolically, what it is showing us is just something that's writ large on the screen. But we can actually be those persons in our lives. You know what I mean? In our smaller or whatever lives, we might not be able to fly or throw webs or all of those things. But like it's kind of telling us that the power is within us. That to me is the
Mm-hmm.
kind of the symbolic movement. But if we project all of that onto the screen and leave it there, we're kind of leaving, you know, the throwing out the baby with the bathwater. It's just telling us. But
Mm-hmm.
the feminine archetypes and the archetypes in general in this film just blew me. They delighted me so much, and I think that for me the timing was perfect for that to get into our collective consciousness. But I'd love to hear a little bit more of your take on, maybe to kind of throw in a little bit of tarot, because I have a couple little tarot things that kind of came up for me, but I'm interested to hear what came up for you. You've seen it twice,
Yeah.
so.
So if we're pulling in the archetypal tarot perspective into this, it was really apparent to me that the fact that Wonder Woman's name is Diana absolutely connects her to this goddess or the moon goddess that we see in the High Priestess card. And so we've got this manifestation of this incredible female energy. And oh gosh, I just realized we have to be careful about spoilers.
No, let's just assume our audience is
Okay,
amazing
so
and
a
they've
warning
seen it
for us.
5 times already. Yeah, spoiler warning. I'll put it on the show notes because how do you
So,
not talk about some of the specifics?
so, well, this is very specific. Okay, I'm warning you if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't want to hear this part. But so in the final battle, when Wonder Woman is facing, the archetypal masculine
The war god.
war god, he sends this immense energy at her, to destroy her, and you see it getting collected in her bracelets, those
Mm-hmm.
classic bracelets that Wonder Woman holds, and she uses this immense amount of energy in those bracelets to just throw back at him, which I believe wins the battle. And I just was so moved by this because this is the power of the moon or the reflected energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about like creating and egotistically putting your power on other people, but it's about using more of that yin energy or reflecting back what is given to you, kind of like almost like a Tai Chi kind of thing. I don't know. So I was just so moved by that moment because she was just pushing back what was given, what was sent right back at her. So that Diana moment, that moon moment, made me think of the High Priestess.
Absolutely. I thought of that was the first thing I thought of because of course she's, I guess, not technically an Amazon because she was sculpted out of earth and life breathed into her by Zeus, but in a sense, I mean, she really was born and raised, you know, an Amazon, on an island with only women, only other Amazons, and, you know, fought to become a warrior and all of that. So I thought Priestess, because of, you know, who she comes from. Can I just say something about her? So her mom, who's played by Connie Nielsen, and her aunt, who's played by Robin Wright, they're both women in their late 40s, early 50s. Can I just get a moment to be like, yes, Hollywood made a film where they actually had badass women who are, you know, not just like 18 and nubile. They're in their like late 40s. They're like, you know, just like that made me so happy. But getting back to that, my first thought was the priestess, because her mother very, very much you know, that brought to mind the priestess, and that she didn't want her daughter to learn to become a warrior. And then the warrior aunt, played by Robin Wright, you know, eventually capitulated and let her become that. So that was, to me, first kind of priestess, and then immediately went to the chariot, because a lot of the arc of Wonder Woman Diana Prince is getting that understanding. She is in this world of the feminine, but they're learning to protect. So there's a masculine and feminine happening there. But she, until she leaves, you know, the island, she doesn't get to see what the real shadow side of the masculine is, and that it's, you know, the top person in charge of, you know, inventing this chemical warfare was a woman. And, you know, so her eyes get opened, and she really has to grab the reins of the charioteer, the masculine and the feminine, to get an understanding of, you know, her own power and what she's supposed to do. You know, what side is she going to take in that? So I kind of went from priestess into the chariot, and then the warrior obviously is part of the chariot, the hero, but
The
something.
Prince, and that's the last name that of the classic Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Her last name is Prince, and it makes me think of this inner noble masculine, the empowered masculine youth, a noble figure. So I love that her name is a balance of these two, masculine and feminine.
Yeah. Interestingly, something that occurred to me today, and I think it was after reading the reviews, was the child archetype, and the son and the protector. You know, when we talked about the sun card, we were talking about being in that walled garden, you know, with the happy child riding the horse, and that was her on the island. There was so much innocence, and when she left, she had to negotiate that world. And let me just tell you, I love the awkward moments in the movie. You know, when she's trying to go through the revolving door, and the awkward things with Chris Pine's character, Steve Trevor. And I just thought that was adorable. And that very much is kind of the son, where even though she'd been trained to be a warrior, she didn't really know what war was until she steps into this other world and is called upon to make decisions, but also is very strong in her own right. It's very difficult for people to try to put her in her place. And I really appreciated that part of it, that it didn't have to be dramatic. It was a part of her, you know, the throughput of what she was doing. And I love that.
Yeah, there's actually a scene of her as a child on a horse.
Right?
Going through a field, and I absolutely thought of you in that moment. I thought, that's the sun card right there. So we've got the sun, and we've got the moon, we've got the chariot. Is there anything else? I think
it's pretty well packed. I mean, you have, you know, the family dynamics, and I mean, we can't do this podcast without spoilers. So I went to see the movie with a group of friends. There were 6 of us, interestingly, 4 men and 2 women. And we all walked out of the theater just sort of still clapping our hands together like children, going, yay, that was amazing. And it was interesting to hear the guys' sort of sense on why they loved it. You know, as a woman, she was kicking ass, and she was beautiful, but one thing that everyone agreed on, or basically had the same thought on, is there was the scene where, you know, she was dancing with Steve Trevor, and then there's that, like, you know, they're in the town, she just saved it, and they just sort of pan up to the window where they're both in a room together. So there's, you know, the innuendo is that they were going to have sex. So everybody that I was with really agreed that they're glad that that's the way they handled it, that they didn't move it to a sex scene. And it wasn't because no one wanted to see it. It was just like, this is not what the film's about. We don't need to go there. The film has a bigger story to tell than like, hey, look, they get it on, you know, and having to deal with their relationship, because it wasn't just about their relationship. In fact, that was so minor to it. And I love that a bunch of guys and my other friend were there. We're all like, yeah, we were so relieved they didn't go there. It was like, okay. It was interesting.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, if you're looking for Venus and if you're looking for beauty, it's all throughout the film, in so many more rich and complex ways. I just thought it was beautifully handled.
Yeah. And toward the end, you know, with the battle with Ares, you know, and her realization of who she really was, and that, you know, her revelation that, like, oh, love is the most powerful force, and recognizing not only that, but the difficulty of that it's actually easier to fight and have war than it is to love. And I think, to me, that was my reflection that I got on it, is that was like, oh, that's even harder. It's, you know, war is brutal and difficult, but it's objectively something to do that has a beginning and a middle and an end. You know, the masculine agency, go do this, and you get that. But love is nuanced and messy and requires relationship and all of that. And that her revelation that it was love that wins, but also that is actually more difficult. That was my takeaway on it, because that's what I believe. That's our big challenge, is to love each other. And it's difficult and messy, and yeah, it's easier to, you know, drop bombs.
Yeah, and she chooses, well, gosh, another spoiler, and she chooses not to destroy the woman with the poisons at the end.
Yeah.
Even though she could,
Mercy.
you know, that was a big moment.
Oh my gosh, it's so good connecting with you again.
I know, it's so good to hear you. There in Hawaii,
I know,
doing your thing.
No, well, and this might be a decent time to. There's two things I want to make sure we don't forget to, you know, we don't forget. We have now set up again part 2 of crowdfunding for the podcast. It's now through Podbean, which is our podcast host. That's how we send the podcasts out to the world. And we've set it up and made it super easy for people to come on board and be a part, basically, right? They were inviting our listeners to be a part of what we do. And we've set it up super easy for people to go anywhere from like $1 a month. So like, that's not even a coffee a month, to up to like, and the big one, $20 a month. We know you people are out there, is actually like a big deal. You get a lot of rewards for that, and you're kind of part of our inner circle if you come in at that level of our sponsors. And yeah, so I'm pretty excited to get that launched. It's taken a little bit, and I know that getting these podcasts up and going is something we absolutely love doing. So this is more about inviting you guys to be a part of our team. And yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff. So you heard a little bit of the URL and the stuff at the beginning of the show, but I just wanted to make sure I mention that now. If anyone wants to write it down, the URL is tiny.cc/tarot, and all of the information will be there. Do you like that? Tiny.cc/tarot?
That sounds so cute. That sounds like the cutest site address you could ever possibly find yourself lucky enough to be.
I'm such a nerd. I worked really hard to try to find like a really, really short URL thing to send people. And like, I'll do tiny. But anyway.
I like it. It's got the word tiny and tarot in it. That's really cute. It's got good alliteration.
Yeah, and
I'm a sucker for that.
every sponsor level, every reward level has a tarot card, a major arcana tarot card associated with it. So we have sun sponsors, strength sponsors, star sponsors, chariot sponsors, and the big one is the world sponsor. So we're pretty excited to get that launched. And there'll be more about that and some great guests. Cyndera, I'm so excited that we have some amazing guests that are going to be on the podcast this year, at least in the next 3 or 4 episodes. Really awesome conversations that I think our listeners are going to get excited about and enjoy. So yeah, let's just say, nerd me, super excited. A lot is going to be happening in 2017 because I think we need it.
Yes, we do. That's why we're here.
So Cyndera, you have this piece that you wrote on Wonder Woman, and I think maybe the best way we'll have it in the show notes, but if you're prepared to read that, we will just sort of end our podcast with that, so our listeners can tune in and listen to that. And I think it's a beautiful sort of reflection on archetypes, these feminine archetypes, but also masculine archetypes, and how it's really affects, how it affected your psyche. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify. So do you want to read it for us?
Yes, I would love to read it. And I'll just say that it came to me on 4th of July, this speech, this writing, just burst out all in one morning that were influenced by recent events at work. And I just felt so moved to write these things down. So I hope you enjoy.
Go for it, girl.
In an attempt to add a poster of Wonder Woman to my office, a new colleague of mine expressed her reservation to the addition of this image to the office environment, which, to her credit, did contain a speech bubble from Wonder Woman's mouth saying, "No time for naughty." She articulated, "I feel it's important to celebrate real women, brave and courageous historical leaders who had an actual impact on the world." I felt as though wounded, as if a spear had gone straight through my heart, as if she was saying I wasn't real. Why on earth did I feel this way? Wonder Woman is not, in fact, flesh and blood, and I am certainly myself not Wonder Woman. The poster did indeed stick out like a sore thumb on the wall. She did not match the drab green walls, the muted tones of the overhead file bins. Would my own personality clash as brilliantly as this to the work culture here? Wonder Woman seemed protected in her plastic cover, the natural light causing her to emit an armor of reflected light. I was speechless. Tears came to my eyes. I left early from my first official day, along with the poster. Today, in Wonder Woman's defense, these words have come to me. You speak of the current suffragettes, the immensity of emotion portrayed in Frida Kahlo's artwork, but who would these women be without the forces that came alive within them? We speak of these forces in abstracted terms all the time. They are real and present even after each historical woman exhales her last breath. Courage, leadership, imagination, vision. Fictional figures such as Wonder Woman illustrate and actually embody these forces for us. The gift of fiction, the gift of art that percolates through our culture in various guises, depicts for us these forces we hope to ourselves enact. We can celebrate the lives of historical women and embrace the inspiration of the figures of fiction, because it is these figures who try on possibilities, dreams, and visions that our not-so-humble humanity has not yet dared. Scientists look to science fiction for ideas of invention and innovation. Teachers and psychologists look to literature for an understanding of human behavior. Mathematicians have found formulas from their dreams, another source some may call not real. But the forces within us are real: love, hate, courage, passion, intelligence. Allow us to celebrate and be educated by history and imagination alike, for one teaches of the past, the other of the future. Since her creation, Wonder Woman has been resurrected many times, always reflecting the struggles of the age. Her tiara and dark tendrils rise again, along with a voice that is once again trying to be heard. What do you believe in? What do you wish to stand for? Do you act from love, or do you simply hide and take cover from fear? Wonder Woman's name is Diana Prince. Diana connects her to the name of the Roman goddess of the moon. Like the light of the moon, her power is a reflected one, and thus reminds us of reflection, the power to look within yourself, to see your own shadows and your own light. And Prince, though she is a woman, she also embodies the sacred masculine. She is in touch with her noble male capacities. And thus, Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, is a marriage of opposites, the holding of a tension between differences, and thus a medicine for our deeply divided times. Red, white, and blue are the colors of Wonder Woman's classic costume. In one comic, she is actually dressed from a tattered American flag. Since World War II, Wonder Woman has stood for what is noble about the United States, a symbol of liberty, justice, and truth. She rises in the face of what is most ugly about our country, which has always been equipped with the teeth of greed, bigotry, narcissism, and blindness. Wonder Woman rises with only the weapons of truth and her own strength to remind us of the hope we must not lose hold of. Hold tight to the lassos of truth. Feel the bondage of those bracelets encircling your wrists, reminding all deeds done by these hands to be for the liberation of self and others. Feel the tiara placed upon the crown of the head, framing the third eye of insight, intuition, and crystallized concentration. Most of all, feel your heart, beating with life, beating with love for life, bursting in each moment with your passion.
Aww. I'm clapping. That's excellent. And we're definitely putting that on the show notes. So at the end of the podcast, you can get the URL to where those are. And, you know, it's something I totally forgot to mention, and I just want to add at the end, here is that lasso of truth. And to me, it's so beautifully symbolic of she's a superhero, and one of her greatest powers is the lasso of truth. That anybody that she gets that around has to tell the truth, and I think that's brilliant. I mean, how different would the world be if we could just lasso that around some people? You know, the deceit is such a huge problem. You know, so much hiding and so much people just trying to be greedy and get their way. But if they actually had to tell the truth, you know, they would see so much more in themselves, but they would essentially have to give up what is torturing them and others. Do you know what I mean? Like, truth.
Absolutely. And that was her original weapon. I think comics have played with her with swords and with guns and all kinds of things over the decades, but she originally only had these implements of the blocking bracelets and
the defensive, and the lasso of truth is as basically her weapon. So I can all take that, you know, and I think we can do that for ourselves. You know, I'm trying to remember who said it. It was brilliant. Of the truth will set you free, but first it'll have its way with you.
I like that. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's true. Is that a good way to end our podcast?
I think that's well done. Well done.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Julian. So good to connect with you.
Absolutely. And plenty more podcasts to come. We've got some great guests. And also, if you become a sponsor with us, we have patron-only content. So we're talking podcasts and all kinds of stuff that you will only get if you're part of our team. So join the team. Thanks for listening to the Archetypal Tarot podcast. For more information on this show, you can find our show notes page at archetypus.com/Wonder Woman. And don't forget, you can join our team and be our patron. Just visit tiny.cc/tarot and join our team. And you know what? The next 15 people to sign up as patrons will receive the next level up in rewards. So imagine that. that would be cool. We'd love to have you, and we promise to bring you more awesome stuff because we're like that. And you don't want to miss our next episode where I have this amazing conversation with Tim Freak, including how the tarot works. And big thanks go out to our star sponsor, our very first patron, Richard Cox. Mahalo nui loa, as we like to say in Hawaii, for becoming our patron. Thanks for your support, and hopefully at the end of this next podcast, we'll have lots of more names to add to this list. Until next time, take care.